to say that you hate something is very strong. It's very strong, right? But when someone's speaking this, and this is like all the time, I go on TikTok, people are making TikToks about how much they hate their job and like how hard it is to get to the job. I'm like, I would never hire you. like what, who's going to see this? Like, it could be funny, but it's actually not, you know? So it's just like, we have to be mindful of the words we're using. We have to be mindful of what's going on inside that starts overflowing and kind of vomiting out. We have to be mindful. I'm Nicole Sylvester, and you are listening to Miracle Minded, the podcast, modern spirituality for women living in devotion to their highest and best. This podcast is from my heart to yours, a one-of-a-kind, soulful reminder to help you remember. I'm here to help you awaken your divinity, embrace your humanness, and activate your infinite potential. I share women's medicine, spiritual and practical tools to help you love yourself deeply, live abundantly, and trust your unique path. It's time to open your mind, soften your heart, and see through the lens of miracle vision. Let's drop in. So here's what's coming through. Playing in the potential of all things. And this is what I've been reflecting on. The true potential of our souls. The true potential that our souls are constantly nudging us along for, right? And not only that, not only our soul's potential, but what we must do in order to create this space for our human potential and our soul's potential to come through. And that's our human excellence, right? So we're going to talk about that. And excellence and perfection are not the same things. So I want you to feel into this. I'm going to use this analogy because this is what came through when I was writing the notes for the podcast. I want you to feel into this, that right now where you are, you have certain tracks that are laid down in your life, like railroad tracks. They're like railroad tracks. They're not permanent. They could be lifted up. They could be broken down. They could be dissolved, but they're there and they're pretty firm, right? And these tracks that are laid down in your life are taking you to certain destinations, taking you to certain kind of frequencies and relationships, taking you to certain kinds of energy in terms of income, the people that you do business with, the way that you make money. There's tracks that are set in your life, and it's determining and creating the way that you feel in your body. It's creating the way that your body looks, the health and the well-being of your body. So there's these tracks, these grooves, right? It's like the grooves, the unconscious patterns and the patterns, but just feel into them as tracks for a moment. And as we're feeling into this idea of tracks, I want you to know that there's tracks that you're aware of and that you see, and you see them and like, I keep getting on this track. I keep doing this thing. I keep going to this place, and it's frustrating me. And maybe right now you might be just waking up to, I think there's a pattern here. I think there's something here that's taking me to this place, and I want to get to know more about it because I noticed that my mom was on a similar track. I noticed that my parents were on similar tracks. I see this in my siblings. So you're noticing that there's these patterns and that there's these tracks. And our work is to become aware of the tracks that we are not only on, but the ones that we continue to consciously lay down. Every thought, every choice, every action, every non-action is laying a track. And this is something that we want to meet with just great presence, very clear willingness to just see it for what it is. We're not judging ourselves. We're not coming here to look at these things and tear ourselves apart. No, we don't want to look at it and think, well, I'm the only one laying these crap tracks. No, we actually want to just be with ourselves in such a loving way that we become more of the observer in our life than we ever have before. And that takes one thing, awareness. Awareness is the key. It's the key to all the things. And this is why if you ever spend time with me, you know that I'm always like, meditate, let's do these things, start doing the awareness body work, right? Like even in my method, Miracle Worker method, when I teach other coaches how to coach and to do the things, the foundation is you teaching your clients how to raise their awareness. If you can help someone raise their awareness, you change their life forever. They'll never be the same. And that's what I want to remind you all today as we're going through this conversation, that you aren't here to just forget about your tracks and go on a ride to all kinds of places that you never even want to go. You don't want to go there anymore. So that's what today is. It's an invitation for you to start thinking and feeling and to know that you're on some paths right now. And you may be aware, you may not be aware. And the reality of all of us is that we're on paths that we're not aware of. And we can feel into them. And this is why it's so important to surround ourselves with people that can give us feedback and that are already on different tracks to different destinations, because they can say, actually, I know a lot about the frequency of that place and that energy of how you're living right now. I know about the energy of those things you're saying. And I know that that track might not be where you want to go. So let's feel into this for a moment. Where are the tracks, the destinations, the places in consciousness and also in the material world that you feel like you're headed to? And this is something you can reflect on between now and the end of the year. That's why I said that this conversation is a powerful one between now and this transition into the new year. I don't believe that we have to be in this resolution. I'm not like a resolution for the sake of a new year kind of person. What I am is someone that is like very mindful of the opening and closing of chapters. And we are in the closing of one chapter, which is 1 year, one container of these sets of months and days and hours and minutes and memories that we'll have in this year, the container of 2021. And we're about to open up the chapter of a new container of months and weeks and days and minutes and hours. And what do you want to tell about that chapter? What do you want to tell about that chapter? Now, we can meet ourselves in the traditional way of this resolution situation where it's just like, I'm going to start making this much money and I'm going to treat my body this way and I'm going to start going to the gym more and I'm going to start eating this way. But all of that can just be very empty, just like throwing darts at a wall. Not much there. But when we begin to look at it in a new way, when I look back at my life and I tell the story about this chapter, what stories do I want to tell? And I want you to be with that for a moment. Like, what stories do you want to tell in this new chapter? I mean, we still have time to tell stories about this chapter. It could be the year that at the end of 2021, you decided that you were going to lay some new tracks, that you were going to do things differently. And that was a time that you were going to shift into what we're going to talk about, human excellence. I can remember at a lot of end of chapters that I made decisions that radically transformed my life. At the end of 2009, I decided to move to California for the first time. I didn't know much about it. All I knew is that I felt that it would help me change my life. I never knew that it was going to be where I had my spiritual awakening, that I had healings and all these things that were waiting for me. But I made a decision with very little money, with very mysterious things ahead of me. I didn't have childcare for Chanel. If you all read my memoir, you remember when I moved to California, it was kind of crazy. That was the end of a year. I literally moved December 29th of 2009. The end of 2014, that day is when I had the shift in the conversation that I had with God, Spirit, that information that came through that said, share your story, help women, everything will be taken care of. These end of years, end of chapters, closing of a container, these transitions are very potent and powerful places to be. And we can be mindful of that. We can be mindful of that. And I'll tell you, every time that I've transitioned from one year to another mindfully, whether it was at a meditation retreat or whether it was in a ritual of some sort, things were different. Big shifts happened. So as you're moving through and preparing and closing this year, closing this container, how will you be for yourself? How mindful do you want to be? And we can talk about what that looks like. The first thing I invite you to do is get mindful of these tracks. You can look at the tracks that you're laying in your life. You can look in different pillars and areas of your life. And simply, you can just become incredibly mindful through your day and get honest about, okay, eating this way and drinking these things makes me feel X. what is the destination of this if it continues? And I'm not talking about just because you had a great day and you were at a party. I had a party here last night. I'm talking about like your consistent things that you're doing all the time. And let's talk about the way that you show up in your business. The tracks that you're laying in your business. You know, I believe you meet your miracles halfway, and that's because we prepare ourselves by doing all that we know how to do. From a space of love, from a space of abundance, from a space of service. When we do this, it transforms everything. So we can look at the tracks we have in our business. There's people that every single day they think, today is the day I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to make the video. Today's the day I'm going to pitch that product. Today's the day I'm going to create that masterclass. Today's the day that I'm going to sell the thing. And then a day passes and they're like, oh, I'm kind of tired now. It's kind of late. It's almost dinner. I think I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Where does that track take us? And we just have to look at that track has a destination. Now, here's what I want you to understand about these tracks, these patterns, these shifts that we have so much more power and control over them than we realize. And this is the part that I really want you to get. These tracks don't have to have a radical transformation to totally change the destination. You can actually change the track slightly. And over the course of 6 months, over the course of a year, you will be in a crazy different destination. It's like the analogy when they use the shift of a rudder of a ship, that you only have to shift it a few millimeters. And it's like literally barely anything you even notice, maybe like this. But over the course of a 30-day sailing, you're going to go to an entirely different continent, they say. Right? So like, think about that. You don't have to do something that's so different that you just like don't even know who the hell you are anymore. If you do, wow, that's an interesting experiment. But what if you experiment with just being different a little bit every single day and shifting more towards excellence? So far, I want you to just, before I even go into this human excellence soul potential conversation, I want you to just close your eyes and feel into this. Out of what you just heard, what is really ringing true for you? When you close your eyes, you should feel something, or not that you should, but if you're going to feel something, there might be something very present, whether it's words or a statement or an urge to do a thing. Is there anything that you want to carry with you from that first segment of what I just said? Let's open our eyes back up. Hi, Leah. Hi, everybody. I know I'm not saying hello because I'm just like, let me say what I'm going to say, but I'm so grateful y'all are here. Soul potential, it's not the same as what we think of human potential. Human potential is like looking at what has been possible for humans, and we put that in the container of all possibilities, like human potential. Humans can do this. Humans can do that. I know it's humanly possible to do this. But if we're starting to play in the world of supernatural, in the world of quantum shifts, in the world of miracles, then we're asking to go beyond what we know as human potential. And if we're asking to go beyond what we know as human potential, then we have to let go of what we know and what has been predictable for us, and to start playing in the realm of unpredictability, of soul potential. So our soul is infinite. We don't fully comprehend it. We really can't. We give words to things, but really there's an essence. There's a knowing. There's something greater than what we can see as life now, face value. That potential is massive. It's really big, and all we can do is begin to play in that realm by asking questions and knowing that our human wants to shut the things down and go, that's not possible. Or I think it could only be possible if I had this much time. I think it could only be possible if I had Facebook ads. I think it could only be possible if this was the reality for me. And we just shut things down versus allowing ourselves to play in this realm of soul potential. Soul potential is the time and space that you really just let the time and the space go down, and you begin to play in the what if, anything is possible, I'm here for supernatural, I'm here for the miracle, and you just play in the land of the imagination. And allow that to teach you, to take you, to show the things, and it's not going to make sense. Like what we say, logic makes sense, miracles don't. But miracles are real, and we experience them. We've all experienced our own kind of miracle. We've witnessed it in other people's life. And when we try to understand it, it takes the power from it. It takes the mystery and magic. We can't, right? But we can think we know. So this is my invitation to you, is to let go of what you think is humanly possible, to begin playing in your soul potential. Now, the soul potential can be met and be activated, right? When I think of soul potential, I think of these multi-million-dollar ideas. I think of the answer to your prayer that you've been asking in your business. I think of soul potential. I think of the solution to the thing that you've been dealing with. It's something that you've been praying about. There's something that you've been asking about. There's something that you may have felt stuck in. There's something that you want to bust through to the other side. You want that breakthrough. We all have our things. The reality is that all of it is available for us right now. It's not available for us tomorrow. It's not available for us in 2022. It's available right here, right now, at all times. We must make ourselves available to be the match for it, to access it. And the way that many people are living their lives, they're not an access point for it. And the way that they're not an access point for it is a lot of people are looking at the past. They're so connected to the past. They're so like everything that's been. They cannot take their focus and attention and awareness away from everything that's been. Other people are so focused on the future. They're projecting into the future. I want to make X amount of money this month. I want to make X amount of money in 2022. I want to have this happen. I want to have that kind of client. Everything is future thinking. Both ways skip the power and the presence of the right here, right now. And the right here, right now is always the space of the breakthroughs. It's always the space of the breakthroughs. I remember when I first read Happy Pocket Full of Money, and I know that book is not for everybody. I know some people have a hard time reading it. But the reality is that this book speaks so many truths, and we have to be ready for it. But the thing that shifted everything for me was when I read this book, and it talks about quantum physics and the idea that everything exists now. And I teach about this in Money Miracles, but it's the idea of the wealthy woman exists now. The healthy, whole, healed woman exists now. The you that is living the lifestyle that you see yourself in this great life force, in this peace and this passion, and living so abundantly, and not just with money, but abundant in your energy, abundant and rich in your passion projects, abundant and rich in the way you're communicating, connecting with others. That version of you exists right here, right now. But we have to be willing to meet ourselves here and now. And a lot of people are running from right here, right now. Because if you come to right here, right now, there could be a lot of discomfort. There may be a lot of things that you haven't worked with. A lot of feelings that you've been avoiding and been running from. And this is where this human excellence piece comes into me. Our human can be in the space of excellence. Have you ever heard this idea or this statement? It says, prosper where planted. It's like when you hear someone always talking about how much they hate their job, or how much they hate where they live, how much they hate their relationship. Number one, if we say that we hate anything, you gotta change that. You gotta change that. You're not in the frequency of having a quantum shift. To say that you hate something is very strong. It's very strong, right? But when someone's speaking this, and this is like all the time, I go on TikTok, people are making TikToks about how much they hate their job and like how hard it is to get to the job. I'm like, I would never hire you. like what? Who's gonna see this? Like, it could be funny, but it's actually not, So it's just like, we have to be mindful of the words we're using. We have to be mindful of what's going on inside that starts overflowing and kind of vomiting out. We have to be mindful. knowing this, knowing that there's something that you might not like, it might not be your preference, but we have to remember to prosper where planted. And prospering where planted, it feels like this to me. It's like, well, my roots are here right now. I can be uprooted, repotted at any time. But right where I'm at, I'm going to flourish because it's the only thing that I know that's going to help me flourish where I'm going. Because if you can't flourish where you're at, you're going to have a hard time anywhere you go. It doesn't mean it's a preference. It doesn't mean it's where you love to be. It's just that in this right here, right now, which is all you ever really have, can you find something about it that's beautiful, that's great, and that you can be great at? And I've done this with many jobs. I've done this in my business. I've done this with things I didn't know how to do. I've done this with things that I was just like, this feels so overwhelming. When I was dealing with my addiction, when I was dealing with getting myself back into the gym after having a healing crisis and feeling like I can't. It's knowing that right where I'm at, I can do the best that I can. And that's the thing. So human potential, as we know it, can be limiting. We want to be connected to the soul potential. But when it comes to human excellence, that's where we really get to play. That's where we really get to have this say. So human excellence looks like doing the best that we can do in any moment. Any moment. Hi, Antoinette. Doing the best that we can means that we're not being perfect. If I was being perfect trying to do this, I wouldn't have wanted to do it. This is my off time. This is time where I'm not taking clients. I'm just chilling and moving about my life in a very intentional way. I'm asking these kind of questions. This thing that I'm sharing with you now has been cycling around. I've been reflecting. I've been asking questions. I've been looking at where have I not been in my potential? Where have I not been in my excellence? Where could I step into it? What's my soul asking me to do? This is like where I live in this awareness and doing these things. And yes, Leah's saying this, doing things in a certain way. And I'm thinking you're talking about in the science of getting rich, right? So that could be interpreted as many different things. To me, it's excellence. So looking at this way of excellence, it's bringing, to me, intention into everything. How intentional are you being? When I can meet my dogs, they can get on my damn nerves because they just keep barking. They keep scratching. They constantly want something, even when I'm having a moment where I'm like, just need to have a moment. Now I can meet them that way, and that brings me down. It creates this resistance and this like kind of like spiky energy for me because I feel the energy and it feels harsh. Or I can meet them at, look at these sweet little souls that are just depending on me for everything. Like, look at them. Let me be very present with them. And that changes everything. The energy is softens. Everything shifts. So how we meet everything is how we receive everything. And it's important for us to look at how we're meeting ourselves, how we're meeting our life, how we're meeting our potential. The reality is that out of the billions and billions and billions of people on this planet, there's only a certain percentage of people that have been called to wake up and do great work in this lifetime. A lot of things are happening, right? Like there's people that are living out karmic things. There's people that are living out old patterns and tracks that are just so deeply ingrained, and they have no awareness of even, why would I change the track? Get out of here with this bullshit. Like literally, that's what people say. So knowing that you're here listening to this on a Sunday is, to me, a sign that you're here to do big things. It doesn't mean it looks the same as everyone else, because it won't. It doesn't mean it looks like even what you think it looks like right now. But we have to be willing to surrender and to open up to the space of what's really here for me. This takes courage, because this means that when you're opening up to this way of really surrendering, right? Really surrendering. That when you're really surrendering, you are really making space. That's one thing. And that means that a lot of things are going to shift. It means that there's a great clearing that's going to happen. And this is what I feel like a lot of people aren't willing to have. They're not willing to go through it. I'll tell you, last night I was going to bed. It was 1 a.m. It was late. I had a party here. And I had so much sadness coming through because some things are changing in my life. And it's not even that they're changing, like the people are leaving fully. It's just I noticed that a chapter is closing and there's a new texture. And I was in bed and I could just feel the sadness. And I literally sat up in my bed and just started crying. Like, I mean, I was surprised that this many tears were coming through. And I was like, just, tears tears. And then finally I was like, okay, I make peace with this. I make peace with this. And that's what we need to do. Making peace with that which is clearing, that which is reorganizing. So many people are asking for a reorganization, but yet they're not willing to really weather the storm of the reorganization of their life. And we have to understand that you don't get to just ask, I only want my income to be bigger. That's the only change. I only want my relationship to be different. That's the only change. I only want my lifestyle to look like this and to have this kind of house. And I only want to be able to make this many impact on these many lives. That's the only change. It doesn't happen like that. Hi, Rose. We have to understand that there's going to be big shifts that happen and it just reorganizes. So think about when you're having some reorganization that's happening in your house. Like, have you ever had a day where you just take everything out of the closet and just be like, this all has to be better? Like, this has to look different? Or maybe when you're moving, I think moving is a good example, but I want you to think like right now, if you hired an organizer to come over, you called them, you're like, I hear that you're the best in business and my house needs an upgrade. I want to organize some things. I want you to think about what that process would look like. Think about it. They'd come in, they'd take everything out of the cabinets. It would look like complete chaos for like a few hours, if not a few days. They would take everything out of the closets. They would take everything out of your dressers, drawers, all the things. We have all these shelves in our hallways. They would take everything out so that they could assess and ask what stays, and if it stays, how can we make it work, run, flow better? And this is what happens with us. Spirit does this with us. It's in nature. It's like, this is how it's going to work. So what happens for a lot of people is the clearing starts happening, and guess what happens for them? I've done it. I see it in clients. They shrink. They shrink. They start thinking, oh my God, things are going bad. I better try to cut back on my bills. I better try to quit this thing. I better go back to that old familiar relationship stability. I better go back to that old pattern. I better go back to that old track. And this is what I want to invite you all to do, is to know that when that clearing comes, don't go back to blankie. Don't go back to the things. Stay strong. Remember your strength. This is actually a time for us to cultivate our strength and to know, like, there's something in me that is unshakable. And you, like a tree, you can blow in the wind, but if you have strong roots, you're rooted. And this is what's key, is a lot of people are just blowing in the wind and they're like, I don't know how to stop this wind. It's just blowing so much. It's like, the wind can blow, but if you're rooted, the emotions can come, but if you're rooted. And it's like, if you keep going back to the comfort zone, and this is very unconscious. So I want to give you all this. I want you all to know this, that like, this is very unconscious, and we want to love ourselves through this. Like Shannon said, the track is rooted, and some of the tracks you don't even know are there. You don't even know we're there. You feel an emotion, you feel a pull, and you think, oh, this. It's a reaction. It's an unconscious reaction. And this is why our work is to become more conscious, right? It's becoming more conscious, because the more conscious we become, the more we recognize the tracks. So right now there's tracks that you're not aware of, and this is something that we get to play with, right? This is something that you get to bring into your awareness now. Now you're aware. And the way that you can really look at tracks that have been laid for you, kind of like there's DNA, right? And up until, I don't know how many years ago, but up until very recently, it was said that something is genetic. It's just genetic. Here you go. Sorry you got this gift from your genetics. But then there's epigenetics that say that we can change our genetics. We can change our gene expressions. And now they're even saying that, like, not only are we changing our gene expressions through like how we think and what we're doing, but actually the foods. There's certain foods that we eat and it shifts a genetic expression, and like disease is less available. So there's all of these things. And we get to look at our tracks, but we get to look at, I had to tell you that before I tell you this next part. We get to look at the tracks of our mothers. We get to look at the tracks of our fathers. Sometimes it's easier to see their track because you're like, my mom always doing this. My dad always doing that. My family, they were always like this with their money. My family was always like this in relationships. I can look at my tracks and I see my tracks and then I see Chanel developing them too. This shit is deep. It's very deep. And we have to become aware, and we're doing this work for our kids, for those of you that are parents. And if you don't have human children that are yours, know that you're doing this work because there's other people in your life that you are overflowing your shifts, and they're seeing it and they're like, there's something about her. There's something about this. But this is why for me, I can't stop doing the work. I'm obsessed with evolution and growth because what am I asking? I'm asking about my soul potential. And my soul potential does not make sense. It's not something I can whiteboard, and neither is yours. Your soul potential is not something that we can put in a 1-year plan this year. And if you put your soul potential in a 1-year plan this year, guess what? You're limiting because really you're looking at human potential. Kelly, I'm so glad it speaks to you. I'm so glad you joined me. So let's play in this. Let's play in this a little bit. The tracks that your family has laid, if we look back, the track has been laid for a while now. It's like the ancient railroad of all things. It's like it's ancient. It keeps getting refurbished even. It's old and it just keeps refurbishing. We get to decide, actually, I don't like this destination. And even though I may not know exactly how to change it, and I may find myself on that same track again, I know. And you got to know this. You know, I'm speaking to you because I know this. I want you to know this. That you get to consciously build new track every day and every moment of your life. Every day and every moment is an opportunity to build new track. And I know that some of your tracks can feel overwhelming. Some of the places that you've been, some of the places you keep finding yourself in consciousness, some of the realities you keep finding yourself in, I know it. I've been there. It's overwhelming sometimes. But what I know about it is that if you can meet it with right here, right now energy, moment by moment, you can change this. And this is what I was thinking about when I think of this time of the year. It's always been an inward time for me. It's not the time where I want to be very, I don't want to hold space for others that much at this time of the year because I'm holding so much space for myself, and I know that about myself. But it's always a time of potent transformations, and here's why. Because there's that energy of knowing I get to change it moment by moment. How do I want to remember next year? How do I want to remember this next container of months, of weeks, of days, of hours? And I want to be proud of myself. I want to know that I looked at myself and I made the decisions that weren't really comfortable. Writing that book that I have of mine, not the workbook, that one was not that bad, but writing my memoir, that was hard. But I'm so grateful that I did it moment by moment. I just committed to do it moment by moment. The same thing with overcoming my patterns around money. It was committing to do the things moment by moment. I could watch a movie or I could listen to a audible about money consciousness. I could take my money and go and buy a purse, or I could take my money and buy a coach. It was like I constantly, moment by moment by moment by moment, and I just knew and I trusted that if I met myself moment by moment by moment, no matter how big it seemed, that it was inevitable. I would get my breakthrough. And that's what I want you all to know. Hi, Sony. I want you all to know this. Your breakthroughs, your new track, your shifts in consciousness, they're here. And you mustn't look outside of yourself and get caught up in other people's tracks. This is about you meeting you moment by moment by moment. And what I know for sure is that I believe in each of every one of you so deeply. This is why I do the things I do. This is why I'm obsessed with my work. I'm obsessed with it. Some of the parts of it I'm not obsessed with, but some things I'm just like, I can't stop thinking about what do I need to say to these women so that they remember how powerful they are. And here's why. Because I know what it's like to be on the other side and think that I don't have the power, or I can't figure the thing out, or I just need an activation because right now I can't access it. And we're all activators for each other. I want you all to know that. There's someone in your life that you're activating. You're activating by what you share. You're activating by what you say. You're activating by your transformation. You're activating just because you show up every day. You have activated by people by just like sharing, like, I did this thing. And they're like, I wonder what it's like to do that. I wonder what it's like to believe in myself that much. I wonder what it's like to leave the relationship. I wonder what it's like to invest in yourself. I wonder what it's like to start a business. I wonder what it's like to feel so courageous that you can just do a Facebook Live. I want you all to know that this is our life and we get to squeeze the juice out of it. Are you really squeezing the juice out of your life? Squeezing the life. Squeeze the juice out of it, right? Like squeeze the juice out of it, because this is our lifetime to discover our soul's potential. And our soul is here and we have so much potential. I was telling my friends that were here, we were actually sitting right in this room in my office. We were playing the bowls, playing the gong. All the kids from age 3 to 16, there was 6 of them. They were all in the living room. They were running around. The neighbor even came up and was like, can you guys, that told the kids to be quiet in his robes. They were like playing around there on the vibration plate. We had such a good time. But we were sitting on the floor, the adults, and we're all sitting here and I'm like, can't help but wonder what would have happened if I went through that one door. And it's not that I regret, it's just that I understand the power of potential. And my friend was like, well, you're right where you need to be. And I'm like, yeah, because I made a decision. And anytime we make any decision, we're right where we need to be. We made the best choice. All of these things, because they all simultaneously exist. There's duality in this world, in this life, in this universe. And at any given time, you can turn away from one door, make one choice, and we can say, yes, it's the right choice. It's the best choice. It's where you need to be right now. And that's true, because for whatever reason, with your free will and your soul's potential, you made a specific choice. However, at that same time that you made that same choice, there are endless choices. There are endless doors. There's endless things you can do. Just like today, you could make so many decisions and choices moment by moment by moment. And they shape your life. They create new potentials. Our potential is infinite. Does that make sense, or did that just confuse the hell out of all of you? Because I'm like, to me, it just makes perfect sense. And this is where I play, is knowing that I trust any decision I make because I trust that it's the right decision. But I also like to play like, if I made that choice, what would have happened? I'll give you an example. If I would have stayed in Austin, Texas, when I just lived in Austin, it would have opened up a door of new potentials. There would have been new people that I met. There would have been new experiences I would have had. And I would have missed the experiences I had when I came here. Being able to have the Marina Del Rey event, living here and looking out at the water, having the boat parade with my friends. There's just endless possibilities. Now, I know that this can be overwhelming. My friends were like, this shit is overwhelming. Okay? But I was like, I know. It's overwhelming, but we're all like, this is how we think. So welcome to our world, right? This is how I play. And this is why I love to play with my clients. The way that I play in the miracle realm, as I like to call it, is we're not going to judge ourselves. We're not going to get attached to it. We're actually playing here. And when we play here, it speeds up the process of, it could just happen. Anything could happen. I'm going to play. I'm not going to make the doors so damn serious. People make the doors so serious, like, I don't want to make the wrong choice, so I'm just not going to make any choice. I don't want to spend my money the wrong way, so I'm just not going to spend any money. I'm not going to say the wrong thing, so I'm just not going to get on the video at all. What do we just know then? We have countless amounts of doors and portals and access points, and we get to have an experiment with life. And that's really the way that I live, is I'm just having one big experiment with life, but I want to experiment in a way that my whole soul is present for it. And to me, the only way to do that is by bringing forth this excellence. So it's like, how can we bring that? So it's like, for me, I was using my mirror, and my mirror is great. Right now, my mirror just looks really cute in my dining room, and I use it when I'm on my vibration plate. But, I hired a trainer, and it's like, I think about, I'm driving, I'm spending $200 a session, we're doing all these things. it could be easier for me to just go to the gym in my complex. It could be easier for me to go to the mirror, but I was like, I want to have a trainer that knows a lot about mobility. I want to have a trainer that understands the things and takes me beyond. I want to go to the best of the lymphatic massage people. I want to do all the things that is going to take me closer to me realizing my full potential. My full potential I'll never probably meet. It's so infinite, but the fullest I can express in this lifetime. And I want to meet it by doing the things. But see, this is a great conversation, and I think it's so great to think about this, because I know there's women that are thinking about being in my mastermind, and they're like, actually the investment to the mastermind changed. We took away the $3,500 deposit because we're almost in January. It's just $2,200 a month for 9 months. And I was like, there's women that are like, I don't have that, but they want to be in it. And I want to remind you all that you don't have it. You probably don't. If you had it, and if it was easy, this goes for anything, you wouldn't have as big of a transformation in it, right? The transformation happens in a transaction when we think, who would I be if I actually stepped into this? So that's for me. It's like, for me, when I'm looking at what would I be like if I made all of these investments in myself, and not only that, spent the time and the energy